Hey, good morning. Welcome to this channel. If you're new here, if you are new here, my name is Janet, and we read the Bible here. This is what we do. Welcome to the channel. If you are coming back for a second or a third time, meaning you are returning, welcome back. But if you are new, welcome to the channel. So today we are reading Daniel chapter 5, and let's get after it. Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While he tasted the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem. So we understand that Belshazzar is a son of Nebuchadnezzar. So let's listen to this. While he tasted the wine, the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem, that the king and his lords, his wives and his concubines might drink from them. Whoa. Okay. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the temple of the house of God, which had been in Jerusalem, and the king and his lords, his wife, his concubines. Hey, they say wives, not wife. His wives, the concubines, the wives and the concubines are both there, drank from them, the vessels. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, gods with a small g, bronze and iron, wood and stone. All those were gods that were made of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. They praised those gods as they were drinking wines with those vessels. In the same hour, the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Hey guys, fear God. Don't you ever joke with God. Whatever comes may, never joke with God. They were just drinking, praising their gods with a small g, drinking wine and having fun. The wives and the concubines were both there. I wonder how wives can sit in the same feast with the concubines. I don't know if it can happen today that a concubine will come and sit with the wives. I don't know. But then it happened that they were drinking wine, and then the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. I can be very scared if I was in that feast. Then the king's countenance changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened, and his knees knocked against each other. Have you ever shivered and then your knees are beating each other? That shivering. Imagine the king was a man, and you know men are strong. He shivers until his knees are beating each other. Oh my God. And do you also know that his strength became, he lost his strength, because if the knees are shaking, then the king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans and the soothsayers. The king spoke, saying to the wise men of Babylon, whoever reads this writing and tells me its interpretation shall be clothed with purple, and have a chain of gold around his neck, and he shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Let me tell you, sometimes people think weirdly. If it is you who saw those writings on the wall, and you called these soothsayers and the who and the whos, whom did he call? He called the wise men and the soothsayers and all those to come and give the interpretation, and says, whoever will read these writings, I will give him this and that, this and that, this and that. I would be very scared if it were me. Because let me ask you, suppose the writings were in condemnation and maybe the kingdom is even condemned. If you are given a condemned kingdom, would you even have wanted to take it? But anyway, this is just my interpretation. Let's see what happens. Are they going to be able to tell him the interpretation? So he says that person will be clothed with gold, and his neck will be given whatever. And now all the king's wise men came, but they could not read. They could not read the writing or make known the king, or make known to the king its interpretation. Then King Belshazzar was greatly troubled. He was really troubled. His countenance was changed, and his lords were astonished. Nobody could read the writings. The queen, because of the words of the king and his lords, came to the banquet hall. The queen spoke, saying, O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts trouble you, nor let your countenance change. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy God. And in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods with a small g, that is me who is saying with a small g, were found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your father, the king, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. Yes, now this is the queen who has come to tell the king that there was somebody in the father's government, if I should call it so, and that somebody must have been Daniel. Let's see who that is. Inasmuch as an excellent spirit, knowledge, understanding, interpreting dreams, solving riddles, and explaining enigmas were found in this Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he'll give the interpretation. Wow. I wonder why these people were not learning. Because if Belshazzar's father was Nebuchadnezzar, and then the father, do you remember, was made to go and graze in the fields with the oxen for 7 good years. This must have been a son, and he must have seen and known this. I wonder why he would also worship other gods. I wonder why he would worship other gods. So let's hold on and let's continue. Yes, so now let's see whether Daniel will be able to solve this riddle. Then Daniel was brought in before the king. The king spoke and said to Daniel, Are you that Daniel who is one of the captives from Judah, whom my father the king brought from Judah? Are you the one? I have heard of you, that the Spirit of God is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. Yes. Now, the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation, but they could not give the interpretation one of the thing. And I have heard of you that you can give interpretations and explain enigmas. Now, if you can read the writing and make known to me its interpretation, you shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. This king promises, but I think it is the tendency of kings, and even in our modern days here, the presidents, to promise big and nice things. Anyway, then Daniel answered and said before the king, let your gifts be for you. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let your gifts be for yourself, Hiya, and give your rewards to another. Hey! Give your rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing to the king and make known of him the interpretation. Daniel did not want any gift. And that is why I was asking, why do they promise big things instead of even wanting to know how bad the situation is for something like this to happen, for some writing to come to the wall? Instead of wanting to know, he is promising things. But anyway, Daniel rejected them. O King, the Most High, O King, the Most High God gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a kingdom and majesty, glory and honor. And because of the majesty that he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished, he executed. Whomever he wished, he kept alive. Whomever he wished, did you hear that? Hey, whomever he wished, he set up. And whomever he wished, he put down. Your father did all that. But when his heart was lifted up and his spirit was hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men. His heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. That is what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with dew of heaven, till he knew the Most High God and his rules in the kingdom of men, and appoints over it whomever he chooses. But you, his son, Belshazzar, have now humbled your heart, and although you knew all this, imagine, even just what I said, you already knew all this, and you have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven. You have lifted yourself up even after knowing what your father went through. Okay, they have brought the vessels of his house before you. You and your lords, your wives and your concubines have drank wine from them. And you have praised the gods of small g, of silver, gold, bronze, iron, wood, stone, which do not see or hear or know. And God, who holds your breath in his heart and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. You removed the golden vessels, and you and your wives and concubines, you drank from them. Then the fingers of the hand were sent from him. Then the fingers of the hand were sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the inscription that was written. Mene mene tekel upshashin. Uphashin. Mene 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 tekel. I think mene mene tekel uphashashin. This is the interpretation of each word. Mene, God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. This is what he brought to himself. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances. You have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. You have been weighed and you have been found wanting. Perez, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Imagine doing something like this that will cost you a kingdom. What happens to authority? What happens to power? What happens to people when God raises them? What happens? Then Belshazzar gave the command, and they clothed Daniel with purple and put a chain of gold around his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. Hey, though he had refused, he was still given the same things that the king had said he would. And Belshazzar now, let's see what happens. That very night, Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, was slain. The same night. And Darius the Medes received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. That very night, he was slain. Do people still joke around with God? Do we still want to go against the word of God? Do we still want to sin? Do we still want to do evil? before the holy God. Even when our fathers worshipped the true God, and we knew how powerful that true God is, we still want to go and worship other gods with a small g, other gods like money, concubines, and witchcraft. I'm talking of the modern days. Are we still gonna be doing sin when we even saw what this God did to our fathers? May God help us understand the scripture, and may God help us to walk in his ways, so that we don't get to be sinful before the eyes of God, because he has all the power to finish us. If he sent Nebuchadnezzar to the fields to eat with the oxen, and now Belshazzar, after being disrespectful before God, has seen writings, and the same night, that very night, Belshazzar, the king of Chaldeans, he was slain. May God help us. Please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.